Welcome to the Empowering Story Podcast. This is a space where healing is allowed to take its own shape. Nothing here is rushed. Nothing is measured. We listen to what's already present and to what might be ready to move in its own time.
You spend years in therapy, you do the reading, you understand exactly why you react the way you do. You build all this incredible forward momentum in your healing, and then your brain snaps right back to the exact same anxious loops. You are terrifyingly right back where you started. Clinical psychology labels this as rumination. It is defined as a passive, repetitive focus on distress, a mental loop where you chew on your anxiety without ever moving closer to an ultimate resolution. This graphic maps the rumination loop. An anxious thought triggers an anxiety response, spawning negative thoughts and heightened threat perception. Because the cycle is closed, standard therapy targets the thoughts, instructing survivors to challenge their thinking or distract themselves to forcefully break the loop. But for survivors of complex PTSD and childhood sexual abuse, that advice can be physically dangerous. Research shows the intense distress from childhood abuse directly triggers this rumination, which then routes survivors into what's called consumptive coping to quiet the unbearable mental noise. People turn to binge eating, substance use, and other behaviors that provide immediate temporary relief. Telling a complex trauma survivor to just stop overthinking addresses the wrong problem. Rumination is the natural output of a shattered timeline, not a broken cognitive habit. Within the empowering story, I identify this condition as chronic temporal dysregulation. To understand what that means, look at a healthy brain. A healthy nervous system acts as an automatic archivist. As experiences happen, the brain constantly assigns them temporal markers, tagging events clearly as past, present, or future, so they flow in a continuous logical sequence. When severe trauma occurs during early childhood development, it disrupts the actual construction of the internal archivist. The brain never fully learns how to build that temporal scaffolding. The mechanical result is that traumatic memories are encoded without those critical time tags because the brain doesn't explicitly mark the event as over the past, continually collapses directly into the present. Survivors end up trapped in a state of frozen time. They're forced to live in multiple realities at once. The adult trying to navigate today and the child trapped in an experience that has no distinct endpoint trauma shatters the structural scaffolding of time itself. Pinning the survivor into an unresolvable present, the trauma experiential sequencing or test framework shifts the focus from the content of the thoughts to the movement behind them. Here, rumination is an incomplete movement. Think about how a trigger actually works. A specific smell, a tone of voice, or a sudden movement activates an isolated node of memory. The mind instantly reacts to that sudden data by frantically trying to reconstruct the narrative. It searches for a way to connect that fragment into a coherent timeline. But here is where the search fails, because that memory lacks a temporal anchor identifying it as the past. The nervous system cannot resolve it. It hits a dead end, so it starts the search over again. That repeating loop is what we call rumination. It is the nervous system's desperate protective attempt to locate itself in time. You hear this fracture when a survivor speaks dense details lack a narrative threat. Specialists listen for blind tense shifts. Jumping from this happened to this keeps happening, and recursive repetition, endlessly circling the same moment. Searching for an exit rumination is the precise sound of a voice, endlessly searching for where it belongs in time. This explains why traditional language-based talk therapy so often fails to resolve chronic temporal dysregulation. Cognitive insight is a retrospective tool. It operates after an experience has already formed. You can analyze a memory perfectly, but that logic cannot reach the neurological level, where the brain's real-time temporal structure is actively breaking down. The solution requires an entirely different approach, something I like to call temporal scaffolding. This is provided by a therapist's study rhythmic and continuous presence, often utilizing targeted voice work. By matching a consistent rhythm, the nervous system learns that moments can straighten out. Having distinct beginnings, middles, and endings, the ultimate marker of recovery emerges in the voice, the panicked. This is happening again grounds into the calm reality of this happened. True healing follows the completion of the sequence, allowing the fragmented ache of trauma to settle into the coherent ink of a finished story.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Story podcast. This space will be here when you return.
I am Sean Dorf, and I want to thank you for being here. It's an honor to share this space with you. Until next time.